All right, may the Lord be with you, and welcome to lab number 9. It's called uniform circular motion. Uniform means constant speed. I brought in a little demo. Let me get it over here. The ball on the end of the string. So anyway, this golf ball is attached to an end of a string, and if I go ahead and swing it over my head like this and get it going, so this is basically uniform circular motion, okay? What would I have to do to make it go faster? And see, I'll make it go faster, and Tom's going to get hit in the face. The ball break free. All right. Now, what would happen if I let go of the string, like right when it's behind my head? What is it going to do? So I'm going to try to do it. It's very tough to do. Here we go. Wow, that's great. I really did a good job on that one. Usually that doesn't work the first time. But anyway, we're going to be studying that motion as it pertains to a string and a mass on the end of the string. So it's pretty much what we got right here, but we have a little bit more sophisticated equipment for you to make good measurements. But anyway, I can also do this in a vertical circle. So I go like this, make it go around in a vertical circle, and hang on one second here. All right, so here we go. This is much better. All right, so this thing's actually going around in a constant motion. What's really cool, if I slow it down, watch, at the very top, you'll see the string go limp. Okay? It's because all I need at the top is gravity to keep it in the circle. So at the critical speed, it's going around in the circle at the slowest possible speed, and any slower, then it goes projectile motion. We don't want projectile motion. We want uniform circular motion. So if you ever go on an amusement park ride and they take you to the top of a circle like that, and you can actually break free, you're dead if it goes below that amount, because you'll leave the track. They make it so that can't happen though. And they always make you go much, much faster than the critical value. All right, we'll talk more about that in class. So anyway, this guy right here, he's got an airplane on the end of a tether here, and which is basically some kind of cord, and he's got that thing zipping around his head like that. And if you draw the forces acting at, let's say 4 different places, you can see the velocity vector is the same length, but it's changing direction. Well, you know, when there's any change in velocity, there's an acceleration. So the speed isn't changing, the direction is changing. Okay, and the force that's causing this is the force in a tether, which is the same as this right here, and you all know what that force is. It's tension. So we got big T for tension right there. Notice the force is acting in towards the center. That's what centripetal means. It's centrally seeking force. It's seeking the center, okay? Very good. Centripetal forces are central seeking forces. All right, this is one of my favorite videos demonstrating what happens if you don't have enough force to keep yourself moving in a circle. All right, so here we go. Up! Hey, what happened here? Hey, what's going on here? There. All right. This film does not promote smoking, by the way. Because the guy who's smoking is the guy that ends up badly. Whoa! Oh, man. Listen, I'm going to do a slow-mo for you. Watch this. Goodbye! Ooh, that's gotta hurt. So anyway, you see what the guy did when he was sitting in the chair. He had the back of the cage providing the normal force to keep his body moving in a circle. So as it went faster and faster and faster, you need more and more normal force to hold you in. But what he did was he stretched out and put his body in a horizontal position so there was no longer the normal force needed to keep him to move in a circle. You see his buddy in there, he stayed in a sitting position. So he always had that normal force keeping him in. So what does your body want to do? Well, if you don't have the force, your body wants to go in a straight line path. So it looks like he was forced out of the ride, but he really wasn't. His body was just following a straight line path as if he weren't being acted upon by a force. Because remember, an object at rest or in constant motion will remain in that state until acted upon by a force. All right. Pretty good, huh? Ding! All right. Now I've got all the math here. I'm going to move over to this side a little bit. Can you still see me? Okay. Anyway, here's the object right here, and after a certain amount of time, it ends up over here. Now, it traveled on that arc of the circle, delta S. That's called the arc length. And if you want to calculate that thing, use the arc length formula. S equals r theta. Now, this velocity vector is now pointed that way. Well, if you put these two tail to tail, which is over here, okay, you see there's that guy right there. There's V2 and there's V1 right there. It's the same angle. You see they've turned through that angle delta theta. So these two triangles, the green triangle and the red triangle, are similar triangles. So you can write the same formula. Like you have over here, you got delta S equals R delta theta. Over here we're going to have delta V is equal to V delta theta. Now, over here, that was the arc length. Okay, notice delta R, we didn't write delta R, we wrote delta S. Over here it would actually be some kind of weird thing right there. But we're going to take the limit as delta T approaches 0, so we get the instantaneous value. So just imagine that this triangle was infinitesimally small. Then this would actually be the same as the arc that you're seeing over there. Okay? Now, if you're moving around a circle, if you did the ratio delta S over the amount of time it takes for you to cover delta S distance, you would get the velocity. Okay? So velocity is delta S over delta T, and that's in meters per second. Now, this is also equal to R delta theta over delta T. So if you go back up here, you see, R's not changing. R's a constant. So delta theta over delta T, you'll soon learn that that quantity is called baby omega. Baby omega. Okay? It's called the angular frequency. It's how fast it's going around in angle. All right, now let's do some voodoo math. Okay, you ready for some voodoo math? So we're going to take the limit as delta T goes to 0 of delta V over delta T. Now, you know delta V is V2 minus V1. It's a difference between those two vectors. Well, it turns out when you put them tail to tail, it's that guy right there. Okay? It's that guy right there. So it works out great. See, we can use that little formula right there. Because remember, the speed is not changing. So the speed times the change in the angle is actually equal to delta V. All right, so here we go. Up on top, so delta V is the same as V delta theta, and we're leaving delta T alone. All right, then what we're going to do is we're going to go over here, see delta theta over delta T, and we're going to call that V over R. Okay? Well, right now, we're just substituting for delta theta. So delta theta is delta S over R. Delta S over R. But remember over here, delta S over delta T is V. Okay? So we're going to have V times V divided by R, or V squared over R. And the acceleration is inward. According to Newton's second law, an object acted upon by a net force will accelerate in the direction of the force. Well, you know, delta V over delta T, delta V is the direction of the acceleration, because delta T is a scalar. Okay, delta T is a scalar. So delta V, notice how it's pointing. See, it's pointing in towards the center of the circle. In towards the center of the circle. See right there? Whoop, whoop, towards the center. Don't forget that. Super important. Super important. Okay. Anything else here? Acceleration of objects moving in uniform circular motion. So that's our formula right there. All right, let's go on to the next slide. So, if there is a net radial inward force that is constant in magnitude, the object will move in a circular path with uniform circular motion. Only the direction changes. That's what we mean by uniform circular motion. The force is constant and the speed is constant. All that's changing is the direction. All right, if there's a component of the net force transverse to the circular plane of motion, then in that plane it could accelerate. So if I was going around in a circle like this, and then I started running like that, then you see still in this plane it's going in a nice circle, but the whole thing is accelerating through space, like that. So that's a possibility. But in this lab, we're not going to do anything like that. We're going to, the plane of rotation will be fixed. It won't move, okay? It won't move through space. All right. Anyway, F net equals MA, and so F net R, it's called the radial direction, is mv squared over r. So when you go around in a circle, that's the radial direction, and then perpendicular to the plane is the transverse direction, and you can have acceleration in that direction. Usually not. Well, for this first course, usually not. Okay? We won't have any acceleration. What we'll have is balance forces in that direction. So this will equal 0. But it'll give us critical information that we need. Alrighty, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Two little loop-de-loops. There we go. So anyway, I got a little video, a little GIF. Woo! So you can see, that's got a circular plane, and then it goes on to the next one like that. So it gets pretty complicated. But you're just going to learn the very basics with this lab. All right. Bing! Okay, so now we're going to switch over to the experimental part, and we're going to just do another separate video. We like to keep our experiment separate from the background. All right, so over and out. We'll see you in just a shake of a leg. All right, and may the Lord be with you and keep you safe and healthy.